Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com. Today's topic, I want to talk in depth about a 401k withdrawal age and go over some of the different requirements that some individuals don't necessarily recognize and how to avoid some common mistakes that individuals make, and then what are some specific criteria on an age that you have to wait before you're pulling withdrawals, and then an age where the IRS requires you to start pulling withdrawals as well. So, to take a step back, we understand that a 401k account is a type of employer, it's a qualified employer sponsored retirement plan. So, to start off any video, I explain it. How exactly does a 401k get started? It's for an individual that's working for a company, and they're offered different employee benefits, such as disability, health insurance, ancillary products, etc. And then this company has to be a private institution, can only offer a 401k. They say, hey, if you guys want to start, planning for your retirement, start saving for your retirement, we have this type of account set up that you could take a portion of your salary each and every month, each and every year that you're working for us. You take a portion of your salary and place it into this type of retirement bucket. So if somebody's making, for easy math, $100,000 and they decide I want to put in 5% of my monies into this bucket, well, that's obviously going to be added into that 401k account. So this 401k account is going to grow based upon the mutual fund options that they chose. So with this type of account, if you go into a fixed segment of this 401k account, they're offering some sort of fixed account. But you understand, if this individual is placing in $5,000 each and every year and they have a fixed percentage rate of 1%, well, this bucket is always going to be growing larger and larger and larger. Now, individuals don't like that. It's not, it's not sexy, it's not attractive. So what they do is they try to really push the pedal to the metal with this rate of return, and they say we're going to invest into the different mutual fund options that we have access to. So whether that's in between 5 to 15, 5 to 20 different mutual fund options, you might see like target date funds, conservative funds, aggressive funds, etc. And what this says is we have a portion of it's a mixture of stocks and bonds. And whenever the stock market goes up, you should notice increases in your portfolio. So you might have a positive interest credit. If the stock market goes down, then you notice that there might be negatives to your portfolio. It's very important when you're looking at the overall picture with the 401k account, because you want to make sure that these are at least giving you the best chance to have a positive interest gain at all times. There are fees associated with the 401k account. If you're utilizing financial advisors to give you recommendations, they typically charge you a fee. And then you're also susceptible to downward market losses, which, example, in 2008, let's say if you have a benchmark index that lost 50% that year, typically the 401k accounts lost 57%. If you had a benchmark index that lost 30%, typically the 401k accounts lost 37%. So understand they're not the highest quality funds that are in these types of plans typically. And then they're also, many times, individuals just try to throw it towards a stock market. And when that market goes down, they could have a big slice to their bucket. So an individual walking into the year with $500,000 that experienced in 2008 could walk out of the year with $300,000. So that's a big negative. So when we're talking about, so we understand that, let me clear up the screen. We understand that the longer a person's working for a company and they start contributing into this type of 401k account, well, the greater the chance that they could get a good percentage rate also linked to this account and try to grow that bucket more and more and more. The first mistake that's made when we're looking at the 401k withdrawal age is individuals will leave an employer, have an old 401k that's sitting there, and this person might be 35 years old when they leave their first employer, and now they think, okay, I'll just take my 401k account. This was a type of savings account that I set up for retirement. I'll just take that and throw that into my checking account. It's a very common mistake that's made. It's a horrible mistake that's made, because now the government could tax you, they could penalize you, different things, because you did not wait for your specific withdrawal age that is a requirement off of these types of plans. Withdrawal age is 59 and a half. So, and there's a couple of other features as well that might allow somebody to pull it out, like financial hardships and different things like that. But I'm talking about the generic concept of it. It's going to typically be 59 and a half. So the first solution, I guess I could call it, is, let's say if somebody's 35 years old or 40 years old and they just left an employer and they started working for a new company. Well, now they could either leave those 401ks in that old employer, if that employer is still around, or they could do something where it's known as a rollover into an IRA, into an individual retirement account. The reason why typically the latter option is better is because you could specifically design that IRA. When someone's going and they're trying to establish an IRA contract, and let's say they're not offered a 401k, they're not offered a retirement plan, they say, okay, I want to start an IRA. Well, you were limited on the amount of contributions you could make into that plan. So it might be, $5,000, $6,000, depending upon what year you're looking at this, this video. They slowly increase that slowly but surely. And what happens is when you have access to an old 401k, that rollover, let's say if you had $100,000 in that 401k, and if you wanted to start your own IRA and you're capped at, let's say, 6,500 of a contribution in a given year, well, this could already jumpstart that IRA. When you do the rollover, it now says, okay, you have an individual retirement account that's starting with $100,000, and then you could start contributing into that, that specific type of plan, or set up a separate one, or start contributing into the new 401k. So I hope that makes sense. Well, it's not as if you could only roll over that contribution limit for that year. That rollover, the reason why people roll it over is because rather than the 5 to 20 different mutual fund options or garbage fund options through a 401k, they could actually leverage that to their advantage. Let's say if somebody's 40 years old as an example, and they want to leverage a good growth strategy on those monies, well, they could roll it over into a specifically designed IRA contract that has 3,000 different mutual funds to choose from, actively managed portfolios, things that are a lot higher quality than the 401k type mutual funds. So that's just a really quick example on why somebody would want to do a rollover. Other individuals could roll that over into, if you just like it, the safety, you can just roll into a type of fixed account better than the fixed account that's paying with your current 401k. Let's say that 401k is paying 1%, but you can find a fixed account that's paying 2%. Then obviously you're doubling out that safe basis. That's another specifically designed IRA. Individuals set them up for annuities as well. They say, I understand I want to eventually use these monies for income in retirement, so you could set up an IRA annuity that would get triggered after that age 59 and a half that will provide lifetime income. So there's a couple of different ways, and you could also segment them out like a perfect puzzle piece specific to your goals, and you splice off, one type of, out of 100,000, you could have 30,000 that's for a growth goal, you could have 30,000 that's for an income goal, and then you could have 40,000 that's for a safety goal, whatever that case may be. So one of the things I mentioned in the beginning, as I said, okay, you have a specific start date that you can't pull your money out beforehand, which is your 59 and a half. And then you actually have a forced date, which is a 70 and a half. So the 70 and a half rule is something known as required minimum distributions. You have to think about this. When you're contributing to your 401k account, this is deemed a qualified retirement account through the IRS. So it's qualifying you to receive a tax deduction towards any sort of contribution you're placing into this type of plan. So if this individual is making $100,000 and they put $5,000 into this bucket, into this 401k account, well, their adjusted gross income at the end of the year is $95,000. That $5,000 was his tax deduction. The amount of money that's growing, so the amount of money that's going in there, the interest credit that's receiving is growing on a tax deferred basis. So what that's telling you is that there was no taxes ever paid on those monies. So when you actually start pulling out a withdrawal from these accounts, they're going to be fully taxable off of your ordinary income tax, off of, let's say if you pull out $100,000 and you made $30,000 of income that year, well, it's going to show as if you made $130,000 because you pulled it out from that qualified retirement account, such as the 401k. It's very important because understand the reason why the government is giving you that tax benefit, is giving you that tax deferral. It's not because they're just nice and they're saying, "Oh, here you go. We love the American people. Here you go. Have this free money over here." No, because they understand that this account is eventually going to be very large, and this individual is going to need this for income. So therefore, anytime that they start pulling those monies out, that's when the government's getting their taxes back off of their ordinary income. So at 70 and a half. They require an individual to start pulling a portion off of their qualified funds. The reason why that requirement's there, even if the person doesn't need it, is because they're saying, I don't want you to just keep that bucket growing tax deferred, tax deferred, tax deferred, and then you just leave it to your loved ones after you pass away. We want to try to get our money back. So that's why at age 70 and a half, you might have an individual that has like a 2% RMD. Then at age 71 and a half, it might be a 3.2% to 5% RMD, it's going to increase. It's not just a set scale. It's going to be increased by the month, the year that you're born, how much you have in assets is going to be your requirement for that specific year. So each individual is going to have a different RMD than the next person. So if we understand we have a 59.5 rule, and then we have a 70.5 rule, how could we make it so that you're being most efficient with your 401k account? And let's look at this goal of a 59.5. Typically, when somebody hits age 59.5, their employer-sponsored plans allow them to take a portion of their 401k and roll them over into specifically designed IRA contracts. Might not be the whole amount. It might just say 100,000, or might cap it out at 150,000. Sometimes it is the full amount that they're able to go and roll over into those specifically designed IRA contracts. The reason why that's important, and typically when someone's looking at that age 59.5, is they say, well, I eventually want to pull out income from these accounts. These are set up for my retirement. I saved it up for my retirement so that I could start pulling out retirement income from these accounts. So with this specific strategy, when we're looking at a max withdrawal strategy, you want to make sure that you have 3 criteria covered. The first criteria is that you want to have guaranteed income sources. You want to make sure that you have emergency funds, and you want to make sure that you have inflationary protection. The most important aspect is income. Let's say if somebody hits age 60 and they have 500,000 in their 401k, and their plan allows them to pull out the full amount and roll that over into a specifically designed IRA contract. Let's say this person's 60, they want to retire at age 66 because they want to try to correlate it to some Social Security need, and they have exactly $50,000 of expenses that's going to be required that they have to suffice at age 66. In this example, what are their income sources? Typically, individuals are not offered pension plans anymore. So that leaves them victim to just saying Social Security income. Social Security income, let's say this individual has $30,000 of Social Security income, but their need is $50,000. What does that tell us? It tells us that their income gap is what? $20,000. So therefore, they have to set up a specifically designed, guaranteed insurance contract that will produce them with a 6-year deferral, lifetime income for that $20,000 out of this $500,000 bucket. Using the smallest amount of dollars and only as much as necessary that will produce them that $20,000. So in this scenario, it's probably going to be an IRA annuity contract. There's different versions, there's different variations of income producing vehicles, but if you're looking primarily for safety and something that's going to last you for the rest of your life or yours and your spouse's life, the best option out there is typically the annuity IRA or IRA annuity. And this is not just saying you just choose a random company. It's saying it's a specifically designed company for your particular area. If you're male, female, age 60, looking for a 6-year deferral, you have 1,200 different options. So it's all about narrowing down which one is the most efficient. So let's say the most effective option requires a $250,000 deposit into the IRA annuity contract. This provides this person peace of mind that at age 66, because they leverage out of the 500,000, they leverage 250 into an IRA annuity that's going to get triggered at age 66, that's going to correlate with the Social Security income, and they will receive that full goal of $50,000 of income. That takes care of the income source. The remaining monies is now what? $250,000 that we did not use. So out of that, let's say rule of thumb is about 6 to 12 months of emergency funds of your expenses should be set up in emergency. So we'll give this another $50,000. Maybe roll that over into a money market account of $50,000 into a money market account IRA to have it for a rainy day type fund. And now you're left with $200,000. And that's what brings up the inflationary need. You could set up different laddering strategies off of guaranteed income products, or you could set this up into more of that managed money route where you're saying, I want to try to grow this account as much as possible. At my age 66, yes, I'm going to have a need of $50,000, but what happens is expenses increase with the power of inflation. So you're going to have some fixed expenses and some inflationary expenses. When you have inflationary expenses, you want to make sure that you're able to cover those so that you're not losing your purchasing power. You're not just throwing it into a fixed account, and let's say if your expenses increase when you're in your 70s to $60,000, and you're only receiving guaranteed income sources of 50,000, you want to make sure that you can at least suffice that gap. So some people like using that in a growth strategy through like a, let's say a TD Ameritrade, a Fidelity, a Charles Schwab, and do actively managed portfolios on that, better than the situation of just leaving them in the 401k. So you could now have $200,000 that's going to be set up for that inflationary need, and it's still more liquid as well than when you're setting them up in the annuity contracts, but you also have that emergency need there. So what we did was we took something that was a 401k withdrawal age. Right when that person sufficed that specific age, it set up an actual plan for that 59 and a half rule rather than just saying, oh, I'll worry about it when it comes there. You know, when I hit age 66, I'll worry about it then. Because that's the easy solution. And this is why a lot of individuals are not able to properly retire and why they outlive their retirement monies is because they leave their money in variable accounts. They don't plan for their retirement. And then what happens is they have a downward market loss. They're getting hit with fees. They're getting hit with advisor fees. They're getting hit with 401k related fees. They're getting hit with all these different negatives. Inflationary risk, longevity risk, social security risk, all these different negatives that severely impact their peace of mind for retirement and impact them, making them outlive their retirement dollars. There's no plan there. So when you set up just something as small as this, it's setting up a specifically designed plan for that peace of mind. Now, what about that individual that says, I don't want to really use this money. I have pension income, I have social security income, I have rental income. Everything's fine. I'm already hitting my expenses. I don't need this money. What do I do at age 70 and a half if the government is requiring me to pull out an RMD? Now, there's a couple different ways you could do that. You could place your dollars into RMD-friendly IRA contracts to make sure that as your RMD is increasing, you're having slight step-ups into your actual rate of return as well. Or you could, many times individuals say, I want to try to maximize this account. So let's say if they have $100,000 that's sitting in a 401k account, they might want to really maximize out this number to leave as an inheritance to beneficiaries. Really simple technique that's pretty neat is known as arbitrage. What you could do is just known as leverage. So you could leverage a specifically designed type of insurance contract that will produce an income stream, and then use that income stream to therefore pay for a non-cash value guaranteed death benefit policy, a life insurance policy. So what I mean by that is, let's say if at this point in time, this individual says, I really want to maximize out what I'm leaving to my beneficiaries of $100,000 in my bucket, they could go leverage something like a hybrid annuity IRA. Let's say at that point in time, it's paying them $7,000 of a guaranteed income basis. Out of that, they have to pay the taxes. Let's say they net $5,000 for easy math. $5,000, they could purchase something known as a guaranteed universal life policy for $300,000 as an example of death benefit. So what this just did was you took their $100,000, they pulled out income of $7,000, which more than suffices their RMD. You make sure that those contracts are RMD friendly. After paying the taxes that they had to pay anyway because they had to suffice the RMD, they have $5,000 net, and then that is what's being used to purchase a life insurance policy that's set up for their life that will now equal, as an easy math example, this is a hypothetical example, $300,000 of a death benefit. So let's say that this person does this and then they pass away after the first year. They did this. They're excited. What exactly happens? What goes to the beneficiaries? Well, rather than them just pulling out their RMD and let's say $97,000 would go to their, as an account value, but would be fully taxable to their beneficiaries, this process allows their beneficiaries to receive $300,000 in a tax-free manner because it's life insurance. And then also whatever they did not, let's say if the market didn't do anything and they had it based into that IRA annuity contract, $93,000 is taxable, is left to their beneficiaries, and then $300,000 is left tax-free. So you essentially have $393,000 of a benefit that you turned from this original $100,000. That's a good way on how you counteract the RMD requirement if someone's never interested about using those monies for income and they're deemed insurable. If they're not insurable, then you have different products that have like death benefit type riders that you could attach on there, which might be a more efficient route. You could leverage different things that give you like long-term care benefits for no additional cost. So there's so many different slews of options that you could do, but this is a way on how you could be very effective, very efficient in the correct situation. And what are you doing? You're planning rather than just throwing random darts at a dartboard. Say, oh, okay, whatever happens at that time, at that point in time, I'll just worry about it. No, it's specific. It's narrowed in. What is the 30,000-foot view? How exactly can you accomplish your goal successfully? And that's how you properly plan. If you found value in this video, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-566-1002. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, mornings, nights, weekends, holidays. And what you can expect is when calling in, you might say, okay, I watched the video online and I was interested in speaking with a specialist regarding the 401k withdrawal age. Either I want to set up an income plan or I want to set up an RMD maximization plan. There's different things that you could do. What we are is we're an independent agency, so we leverage every carrier out there, every strategy out there. We have something known as a Retire Sharp planning system that allows us to be most efficient. We have different software tools, different things, different analytics to make sure that everything is as specific as possible. We educate you through different literature pieces or personalized videos. We're A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. We've always had very good reviews. We've never had any complaints. It's because of this methodical process. So I hope you found value in this video. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you can have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.